Hi, I am playing football coach college Dynasty. I don't see a lot of legendary or any legendary gameplay, and I thought it would be good to kind of put some out because I've been enjoying this game. I definitely enjoy this kind of style of game. So let's just get started. One thing I'm going to change is realignment. Realignment's happening this year technically, but all the other settings I'm going to keep the same. Obviously, I just clicked on legendary difficulty. And so realignment's kind of cool because it's something that you can have occur, but you can also just say don't happen. So the following year, the game will propose realignment, and then it won't actually. I'll just stop it after the following year. I've only played on coach career mode, and what I kind of found is that it was a little too easy to retain really good coaches. So I'm hoping that the school dynasty mode will give me a better challenge. With that said, I am going to be choosing Ohio State for 3 reasons. The first reason is because it's my alma mater, although I haven't really been watching college football since like 2014. The second reason is because Ohio State is the most popular school. So I think just to get this kind of content out there, to let people know about this kind of game, choosing a most popular school is probably the best route. And then the third reason is because I want to win. Every season, the goal is going to be to win with Ohio State, to win a national championship, and it's that very simple. It's like kind of fun because in the coach career mode I've done, I use Cincinnati, so it's fun to kind of build up a school, of course, but I'm just going to cut to the chase and try to win immediately. In order to do so, I want to have the highest rated offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators, and then we'll kind of base our head coach off of what we have. So the way that you should read this is that the football represents the offensive score, the shields the defensive score, the muscle is the training score, and the swords are recruiting. I think for me, what's the most important is recruiting and then the coaching score. So looking at offensive coordinator, I want any one of these 9s, and really I just want the 9-1-3-5 is probably the best because on aggregate it is the largest amount of numbers. So we'll just choose that. And then on defense, I don't have a lot of great defensive options, unfortunately. I think I'm just going to go ahead and choose the 1-6-1-8. So Casey Moran and Quentin Brewer as our coaches. I think because my defensive score is so low, I actually might need to help with it. So for head coach, I'm probably going to base it off of that more than recruiting like I would normally. Mark Guzman seems pretty good. And so one thing I'm hoping is that if my coaches do well, that I lose them to other teams. And yeah, I mean, basically if an offensive coordinator does well, they should get a head coaching job, right? At a bigger school or just more money somewhere else. So one thing I also want to mention on the screen is that your coaches are going to be what dictate the bonuses for your playbook and schema. So in the case of offense, both of my coaches have a balanced type, which means I'll get a bonus for running balance, which is good because balance is normally pretty good. But I don't have a balanced offensive playbook. So that means that I'm probably just going to be alternating between spread and pro style. Realistically spread because pro style will rely more on tight ends and spread will rely more on wide receivers. And I, being Ohio State, probably have more great receivers than a ton of good tight ends. So the same thing is true of defense. I'll probably be choosing between nickel and 3-4. If you don't know what that means, 3-4 represents first the number of defensive linemen, dash the number of linebackers, 2 cornerbacks, and 2 safeties. Nickel is a 4-2-2-2, which is 4 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, 3 cornerbacks and 2 safeties. I think I most spoke originally by saying 4-2-2-2. It's actually 4-2-3-2. And then aggressive zone and aggressive man just give me flexibility with choosing whether I want to be in zone or man for the majority of the game. The benefits, in my head at least, are zone forces a quarterback to be able to read what the defense is doing, so a high quarterback IQ is important, whereas man is more about your ability to throw an accurate ball. Let's get in. So custom universe, if you go to the Discord for this game, you can find a bunch of different custom universes. I don't think it actually means that the players are up to date with the current FBS rosters, but rather the standings and kind of the team, makeups are. So let's have a look at what we have here. At quarterback, I've never had a quarterback that is this talented, frankly. We can do anything with this guy. I probably want to increase his IQ just a little bit because that is what determines if we turn over the ball. I'm looking at the right-hand side, but hold on, we can actually show this better. So, under passing, this is what I'm looking at. Quarterback IQ could probably be a little bit better, but this is actually really high, in my opinion. So our quarterback is stacked. Let's just look at the second stringer. Our backup is probably going to be Denzel Atskin. So we've got Trent Sheldon at starter, Denzel Atskin behind him just because of the higher quarterback IQ. Take a look at running back. Running back is also very good, which is not super surprising, I suppose, because we're Ohio State. High ball carrier vision is definitely very nice. He's probably going to be our bell cow. Then we have someone who is just a great receiving back behind him. We'll probably just split the carries between these 2 players because they're such highly rated. Take a look at wide receiver. So we have a ton of great receiver talent, as expected, being Ohio State. One thing I always look for is just to make sure that the catching and route running are high. It looks like in this case, that is definitely true. We don't really have a lack of talent at all until we get to, even that could be a starter. So I would say that on most teams, everyone up to Raphael Pollard, or everyone except for Joe Kane, would not be a starter. That means that we'll probably be redshirting some of these players. That's fine, which I'll show. At tight end, I'm really glad that I mentioned we're probably not going to do pro style because we don't have great tight ends, but we do have a good one. Definitely a receiver type. Offensive line is scary bad, actually. So normally I like to have 5 starters with around 80 overall. We're definitely short of that. We can probably train these players up, and that will probably be a priority for me. Because we have so many great wide receivers, one thing I want to check for right now is just to see how the blocking is in pass. So we have an 82 pass, 76 pass, 64 pass, 83 pass, 86 pass, 89 pass, 86 pass. So there's probably going to be some weird depth chart ordering that I can do in order to make sure that we are playing into our pass first kind of offense. Kickers, let's see, what's the punt power? So we have a good kicker that needs to be close. This guy is probably going to be our starting kicker though, just because he has a higher kick power. And probably also going to be our punter, frankly. Looks like he's doing 2 men's jobs. Defensive line. So we're going to be running a 4 defensive line schema no matter what. Looking at this, we have quite a bit of talent for sure. Probably not what you would expect from Ohio State. This is a little 2-man heavy. Kind of skip through these a little quicker now. Oh, I guess we need to also check for offseason gains. So things are subject to change. One linebacker, one good linebacker, and then like good depth linebackers. Definitely making me feel that we're going to lean nickel, especially when we have 4 starting cornerbacks. And this guy could probably be starting 2 or starting number 1 quarterbacks. And then we have some really good safeties. It's kind of an interesting idea to maybe change the position on one of these players to cornerback. I actually kind of really like the idea of changing this guy to a cornerback. So like one of the issues with safeties is that realistically you're only going to be using 3. You don't need a ton of good safeties. So I might change the 2 that get bonuses for becoming a cornerback just because of that bonus. So let's actually go ahead and do that. This man is now a cornerback because we're going to be playing nickel almost certainly. And then I think I like what I have here. A lot of seniors and juniors in the safety position, but that's okay. Yeah, let's move forward. Definitely could redshirt this guy as well. Just thinking through what could happen. So the second stage is off-season gains. With a higher training facility, the gains will be better. Ohio State should have one of the best, so we should have some of the best gains. Let's just do by gain just to show that. So some pretty significant gains to the offense from a quick look. And now we need to choose what kind of offense we're going to run. Definitely thinking spread, balanced. And then on defense, it's a little trickier of a call. So let's look again at how our defensive linemen shaped up. We definitely have good defensive linemen. I mean, this is a solid starting 6. At linebacker, we actually have a ton of depth. This is also a really solid starting 6. This is actually a better starting 6 than our defensive linemen, I would say. It's tough. It's a tough call for sure. But we have so much potential at cornerback. Okay, so before we make a decision, I want to redshirt anyone I can. I also know from looking earlier that, this guy became the backup because of his, or like defaulted to the backup because of his gains from the offseason. So we can redshirt all these players. The thing is, I want to play this player, but I will redshirt this Jason Murphy guy. He doesn't need a start, and if he does, then he will just become unredshirted. Also a good time to figure out what kind of plays will be played in what situations. So for short yardage, strength, for third down, it's pretty easy. It's just based off of pass blocking, catching, and route running, and no one's even close to, that's not true. Actually, Hunter Underwood is close. So that's an interesting decision to be made. I think we'll just do auto then. For short yardage, strength is really important. So luckily, Emmanuel Brady does get the start there. And then for fullback, run blocking is what matters the most. It looks like we don't really have a great run blocker, but that's okay if we're playing a spread. I probably will not be using a whole lot of 2 running back sets. Let's redshirt all the players that we can. So this senior probably just goes to the draft if I redshirt him. There's no reason for me to not start him. The junior, the sophomore, the freshman, I'm going to redshirt just to keep their eligibility. And then we can definitely move with all 6 players. Redshirt all these players. Probably that easy. We'll mark this guy as a receiver. Okay. So at offensive lineman, some decisions need to be made for sure. If we're in win now mode, that means we definitely need to call up a few of our players. So I actually want to be a little more judicious with this based on pass blocking. So high pass blocking is what I'm looking for here. And then I'm going to order that appropriately. Let's see. I also want to call up this guy. And maybe even this guy, but probably not. I like what I have here. 73 and 74 are pretty low to be starting ever. I mean, so you have 5 offensive linemen, so realistically it's going to be the first 5 that get the most reps. I would want those all to be close to 80. I think that this is probably the best team I can put out on the field consistently. So we'll just move forward with what I have here. Redshirt these players. Cool. So I like that I'm keeping his eligibility. Looking at the defense, definitely like this front 6, the way that it's set currently. We'll move on. We have to decide on whether we're going the 3-4 or the nickel still. So that's what's churning in the back of my head. All right, so all the juniors, I think I will start, but the freshmen, I would like to keep their eligibility. That feels like I had a lot more talented linebackers. Let's do some math. So 2 88s, an 81, and 80. That's my front 4. A 91, and 83, an 82, and 80, with more depth below. Technically, I have better linebackers. Sorry, defensive linemen than linebackers. And I also have better cornerbacks, so I'm probably going to go with the nickel. Let's start you. I want to keep the sophomore's eligibility, so we're going to keep him on the bench. We can sort this by overall. And then I do actually like the rotation size being just 5. So yeah, I think we'll go nickel. It's nice that we have so much depth at linebacker, but we don't necessarily need to use it. It would be kind of interesting to be super top heavy at defensive line. So you can like change the work rates so that these players are constantly being featured in the lineup, and then have lower rotations for these other players. That is definitely an option. And then with the amount of quality depth I have at linebacker, I could rotate these guys more freely. That is an option too. I just think because we have 3 nickel cornerbacks, that it's probably the best to go with nickel. All right, let's finish redshirting. Everyone, we need a redshirt or move you, or bring you back, sorry. And then I do like these 2 safeties just having a high work rate out of the gate. Um, this is an option. I think, actually, though, the best thing to do. So a higher punt power would be ideal. I think I will actually just go ahead with doing this though, where we just have one kicker. Okay. So now that we've done all that, I think we can confidently move forward with the nickel. And then for aggressive man or aggressive zone, I'm going to base that off of what these numbers tell me. So we're just a better man team. But not by much. I think I will call going zone just because when I play call, and so I'm planning on play calling everything, I would like to have the freedom to blitz without being worried about the deep ball all the time and having to play some kind of cover one. There's just also sometimes when, let's look at our cornerbacks. So 96, 95, 92 is actually so good that maybe I should not be worrying about ever getting beat. Like these guys have 100 and plus man coverage, and actually looking at the zone coverage is not nearly that good. It'd be kind of interesting to see if the linebackers just have worse man coverage than zone, and that does seem to be the case. I think this is the default, so I can change this from game to game, but I think actually aggressive man is the best, so we'll go ahead with that. All right, now we are into the preseason. One thing I'm going to do with my quarterback is just instantly go for higher quarterback IQ. The accuracy, the arm strength are all crazy, but if this is better, then we will not turn over the ball nearly as much, and I plan on passing a ton. So increase that. Then I'm going to get to work with the offensive line. This guy with 69 pass blocking is barely a starter. I do lose training because I'm playing on Legendary, so that makes things a little difficult. I need to target the players who are closest to being actual starters. So we'll do Matthew Jacobs here. So I got +5. He's 80 pass blocking now. And let's see who else. Well, those are my 2 OC trainings. Let's look at defense. So coaches do have bonuses or skills that they apply to players. Let's take a look at what I've got there. I actually don't know off the top of my head how to go to that quickly without with the Dynasty mode. All right, so my head coach gives big hitter archetypes an extra 100 points when we scout. Pass coverage archetype, 100 extra points when we scout. The defense gains +2 block shedding on blitz plays, so blitzing is definitely a good thing. And then we'd also get a man coverage bonus in games. All my skill players get evasion and speed in games. My running backs get +4 strength in the goal line, which is, I think, pretty important. My wide receivers gain +3 speed and evasion as the bulk carrier, so we can do jet sweep. My recruiting pitches to players with pass coverage gain. So pass coverage players are definitely, like these are linebackers to be clear, are definitely going to be players that I can easily grab. Defense gains +2 on all defensive attributes when facing option run and RPO plays. That's just really nice. And then big hitter archetype, which is cool because I actually quite like the big hitter archetype. Anytime you can turn over the ball, either through an interception or through a forced fumble, that's obviously hugely disruptive. I feel like this game really shows how disruptive that can be. So one thing I noticed is that I don't really have any bonuses for training any specific kind of player. So we can just go ahead and do what we think is needed. Because defensive line is always going to be out there on the field, to me the most important thing is to train the defensive line. I have these two 80s, which I could try to make better, but really I think I'm just going to try to make my average across the board strong. So we'll go, let's take a look at what help we need. So the pass rush is good, the run stop is good, everything's good. We're really just looking to improve. I'm looking to improve my starters. So let's go ahead and increase this guy's. I think what I would like to do is to increase my current strengths and just make them stronger rather than try to be more balanced. So I'll go ahead and do that. Let's also increase this guy's block shedding. Cool. So we just made these two players better, even though they were already good. For my head coach training, I would like to work with the kicker some. The kick power could be increased, the punt power could be increased, but actually I think it's more important to increase the punt power. Punt power is really, or punting is really important just for where the ball is going to be on the field. Thinking through this, I'm actually considering bringing one of these players out of their redshirt status just so that I have a little extra punt power. I am definitely considering that. Let's do this player's punt power though, and we'll just keep these two players on the bench. I think this will be fine. Like his punt power is now higher than these two other players. And then I can increase the strength of one of these players. Or sorry, I can do another head coach training on a player. I might target the offensive line and again, just work on making my good players better. So we'll do this offensive lineman. Cool. Now to recruiting. So there's like a very easy way to make recruiting simple, fast, and really productive. I'm showing it right now. What you do is, if you're like a good school, then you change the star rating to 4 stars, see points ahead, and just target the specific players because essentially these are the players that you're most likely going to be able to get. And yeah, you can kind of then just start targeting players based off this, and it'll give you a pretty good variety. But I would like to be a little more storied with this play, like kind of know the player names, etc., and like have an identity with Ohio State. So what I'm going to do instead, so we're going to like kind of do a mismatch. So first, I'm just going to look at the players that have the highest interest of Ohio State. So we'll scout these initial players. And what I'm looking for is for B- plus or, B- and above. So like this player, for instance, I'll target. And then also higher overalls. Overalls are what they're actually going to be able to do in game. The potential is what they might be able to do by their senior year. And that's important to understand because sometimes players develop so quickly or play well because you start them that they will want to become draft eligible early and you won't realize that full potential. So we have this Joseph Schaefer out in the lead. I want to take a look at my needs. So I do want a quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver. I don't need any tight ends. Offensive lineman, I do need defensive lineman. I need linebacker. I need no cornerback need and safety. So we'll just filter off of that. And then so typically what I would do is I would start targeting these players. We can go ahead and kind of start doing that because I need some variety, but then I'm going to get a little more specific after I do this. And so one of the things I would just mention is in the early phases, it's not super important to be super judicious about who you're targeting. You just kind of want to get a variety. So like if you look at what I just did, I just basically went through the first 2 pages, sorted on points ahead. And now I have a pretty good mix of different kinds of players that I'm targeting. This is definitely healthy. I do want to reduce this now to what I actually want. So I do need 2 receivers, so we'll include receivers. I do want lots of offensive linemen. This is probably my biggest target is offensive linemen. And then I also like to have a lot of defensive linemen, because no matter if you're running a 4-3 or if you're running a 4-3 or a nickel, you need defensive linemen. So generally those are just good to have. And then we'll keep the number of safeties that we currently have. So wide receiver and offensive lineman, defensive lineman is what we're filtered on right now. So we'll target these players. And these should all, in theory, be easier players to grab. And that actually gives me 40 targets. So we'll just move ahead with what we have here, and then we'll get a little more specific as we progress. So then we'll just start offering different camp visits. One thing to note is if you have a bunch of the same kind of player visiting for camp, then there is a reduction in the benefit, like the same position, there's a reduction in the benefit that targeting that player that week will give you. So with the offensive linemen, that's why I'm kind of mixing it up here. I don't want them to feel hurt that I'm looking at so many offensive linemen. And then we can start to target these other players. So you're going to see when we move to the next week how, let's see, I want like a defensive lineman here. How the scouting percentage will change my understanding of the players that I'm looking at. So again, not super judicious about what I'm doing here because it's the first week and I really just want a sense of the players I have. Another thing you can do is run practices against your own team. So I'm kind of interested to see how good we are at running the ball, given the fact that our offensive line looks like it sucks. So let's just see what happens when we run against 3-4. So we only averaged 1.51 yards a carry. That could also be an indication that our defense is really strong, which cool. But most likely is actually an indication that our offensive line is weak. So you can see here with on man-to-man, we have really good cornerbacks. Our spread short throw is not great as well. Let's check out the medium pass. Actually, so the reason why I'm not choosing this one because it has 2 tight ends. I probably will not be running 2 tight end sets that much. We can try this shotgun spread, and then let's see what like zone would look like. Okay, cool. So we can see here for whatever reason, and we can check out like why. It looks like Neal is getting a lot of the catches, so it's not going to the running back. It's going to one of these wide receivers where they're just hitting a soft zone. It's probably right below both these zones. But that's nice to see that we're able to throw the ball so well. Let's see. Well, let's do the same pass, but check out what happens if we blitz. So this is the team coming on a blitz. That's still really productive. I believe this is even counting if it's incomplete. Like this average yards per play, which would just be 0. Yeah. Cool. So anyway, we have a passing team for sure. Let's check out what happens if we inside run on a team that is not expecting an inside run at all. All right, so our run game is just going to be not great. But also we have a great defense. So we can sim ahead. For training, we're going to go back to that O-line. This guy probably doesn't see any starting time if I don't do something about his super low pass blocking. I don't even know if it's worth investing in him. Bam. And then who else do we want to target? Looking at this guy's pass blocking, I'm kind of thinking of bringing Carl Carpenter out, but then I realize, oh, he's actually a 74, so he's not even that good. Let's make this guy stronger, and that's maybe enough for the offensive line, and we just hope that what we have here is good enough. Definitely going to be more focused on quick throws, just given this weakness. I don't think we need to touch the wide receivers at all. Running back, we might want to invest a little bit into strength for goal line situations, but I think I'm just going to end up passing anyway in the red zone. I'm debating if I should give a bonus to my backup quarterback just in case. It's one of the worst situations when you lose your quarterback, obviously, but it happens. I think I'd be comfortable with this guy starting, though, given his current stats. So that probably just brings me back to the offensive line and looking for where I can get like some easy wins. I think it's just going to be very simple. Strength and pass blocking. Then on to the defense. Let's make maybe our cornerbacks better. That, or I just go all in on this guy. He is a run stopper, so higher pursuit would probably be better. Let's do that. He will see the field a lot. And then my starting cornerback. Actually, I'd like to target my junior because there's a chance that he comes back next year. And so the bonuses that I give him right now apply next year as well. For that reason, there's actually not a whole lot that I'm interested in buffing here. Other than maybe man coverage, just so that no one can throw on this guy. I guess that's what we'll do. This is a no-fly zone, my dude. All right, to recruiting. So first, I'm going to sort by potential just to see what kind of players we have and remove the ones we don't want. This overall actually means that I probably will keep him because he's just already, like, he's game day ready kind of deal. But the 70s, I am not interested in retaining. This F score is also a little seductive, but I probably will just remove him. Now we'll scout out the rest. So get rid of that D. D minus we'll keep. And then C minus, you're out. Okay. So as long as all my needs are covered in some capacity, I will probably start to look at targeting different kinds of players. One thing to remember is that we have bonuses on linebackers who are a specific kind of linebacker, either a big hitter or and this is also true of defensive linemen. So either a big hitter or a pass coverage man. So we can actually see based on these kind of players. I should have done this the opposite way. My bad. So we can see based on these kind of players what we're working with. I am a sucker for just having as many defensive linemen and offensive linemen as possible. So that's what I'm going to target because personally, that's important to me. This is a pass coverage guy, actually, ironically. Let's also, we don't need to be looking at 3 stars yet. I recognize that a 3-star just snuck in. That's fine. Let him be. So big hitter, big hitter. These are all linebackers. Here's a defensive lineman, defensive lineman, defensive lineman. Cool. And I think we'll move forward with what, actually, no, we won't. So I don't want to be targeting people who are not interested in joining Ohio State with some innate interest. I think what that means is we'll go for just this guy and we'll pick up Javier again. Let's take a look at the 3 stars just to see if there's anything interesting. Yeah. We'll target this guy. I mean, he's definitely interested in us. From here, so we still have quite a few targets that we could do. I definitely would like better offensive linemen and defensive linemen. So we probably just target these 2 things. I also thought that we would need safety help later in the future. Okay, looks like the game is well aware of that. So let's select all. And then let's get more variety here. Two more safety looks. Let's check out defensive line. We're already behind, but that's fine. Okay. So, gonna sort by potential, and then I know this offensive lineman is good, so I'm gonna invite him to camp. Same thing with the safety, B- at this point. I don't think it's actually worth investing a camp look. We'll go linebacker. We'll check out another safety. Another linebacker. I'm avoiding these safeties because of that penalty I mentioned. So receiver, offensive lineman. It is good to match up the type with the coordinator too. I was expecting that to change to a worse value, but it didn't. Might be, I don't really know why it didn't. All right, we can just finish this all out. Again, I'm not being super anal about the scouting stuff this early. It does not really matter, in my opinion. But I could be wrong because I haven't played on Legendary. A receiver, are there any room for gains? I don't really think so. One thing I like to do is to increase a player's elusiveness for bigger returns. The highest elusiveness I see is this 106, but he's not really got the breakaway speed. So I don't know who will be our return man, and you can't actually select who will be your return man. I think we just don't touch anything and see what happens. There's not a whole lot of value for me increasing this guy's route running because he's so far below in the depth chart and we have so many good wide receivers ahead of him. So yeah, I think it'd be a waste of time to buff the tight end position, or sorry, the wide receiver position. Tight end is a little different. Could definitely improve if I wanted to. The route running, for instance. I think we look at running back. So running back is just going to have a lot of help in order to improve. Probably the best thing for me to do is to make one of these players a really good route runner. So I'm going to make my starter a good route runner to make sure that he's able to be active in the run game. And then I do like the idea of giving Emmanuel Brady a higher strength just so that maybe we can push things through with like not really a whole lot to do here. I am also considering just training my backup quarterback. I think what I'll end up doing is training my backup quarterback just to make sure that I have someone that's reliable behind. So I'm going to increase the accuracy on this guy. And then I will increase the strength of Emmanuel Brady so that I have some kind of goal line idea. And I might also just increase the strength on my tight end, but I feel like it'd be better used, like the strength bonus would be better used for my defensive lineman who's got 103 strength. So we'll do that. So 107 strength now for Jake Ondell or whatever. Adenell Lee. We'll buff this guy's block shedding. So I've got a really solid defensive line. I'll probably be looking next to buff the safeties and cornerbacks since they'll get so much play. All right, let's sort by scouting percentage. So we can remove this guy. He's not going to ever see the field at Ohio State. And get rid of this guy. Okay. Okay. So we don't need him. So that's 7 targets that we can look at. What is the identity of this school gonna be? Well, I'll probably just target offensive linemen in order to shore that up, and defensive linemen, as I kind of continue to say. So we'll just do that. And then at this point, I'm also interested in 3 stars because we're 2 sessions past. So I don't want to save these filters specifically, but I can save this filter after I'm done with this. It's not a lot of, it doesn't feel great to be targeting someone who has minus 459 interest in us right now, or points in us. The way the game works is you're either at the right number or you're not at the number, and we're not at the number. So I probably won't be targeting these players. I can, with my bonuses, target, I'm gonna do this correctly. I can definitely target the big hitter, and where's big hitter? And pass cover players because I have the bonuses that I have. But this is still minus 930. I'll probably just throw one here to see what's going on. Likewise, this is minus 813. Although I think I can actually, that's easier to catch up from. So we'll throw a 2 there. And then I still don't have a whole lot of offensive linemen. Might be interesting. Let's reset all the filters. Well, first let me configure one thing, which is just this first filter. So we're gonna say this filter as like early season scouting. So 5 and 4 stars. Basic all positions. Could definitely go for a quarterback. It's like 2 ways to filter, and I'm doing the least efficient way. I already kind of feel a little bit of the heat in being behind compared to non-legendary, normal difficulty. We'll check out Cody. And then I also do actually need 2 more running backs. So we'll scout like so. Randy Ramirez and Pierce Espana. Let's see. I can see how not being super on top of the scouting might actually bite me in the butt here. Lastly, wide receiver. Okay, let's be a little more careful here now. So I'm gonna clear all the actions that I had scheduled. I like to schedule my games once I understand a little better what teams look like, because I don't really know the football scape right now. I'm not gonna schedule any visits. You can probably bet though that Michigan will be good, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. That's really about the extent of my knowledge of what the football landscape looks like right now. So let's get these offensive linemen for sure. These are the best offensive linemen in the draft class. 2 of these I'm already kind of running away with. Having 3 really good offensive linemen in this draft class would definitely be a win. I do need a quarterback to back up, so I will go with the highest scouting I have for this guy. Safety is also definitely a huge need. And then some of the stuff is just nice to haves. I need 4 safeties. So what I'm going to do is target these guys. I do need a defensive lineman. So I'll also throw a great pitch there. And then if I can lock in. So we're ahead with all these players, by the way. It's kind of why I'm saying like scouting doesn't really matter a whole lot in my opinion. It's kind of, I think, the least interesting aspect about this game. We can do, let's see. Because I'm so desperate for offensive linemen, I think I'm just going to go for the one that is furthest ahead. Realistically, I'm just going to actually do all of them. Yeah. I mean, B- is good. Good enough. Yeah. Okay. So, let's see. What did I not target? I don't think I targeted a single running back. I need to be doing that. With where I'm at, probably take the ones I can lock in early. So I'll just have big leads on these 2. I checked out a quarterback. That's good. let's see. Let's just look at offensive line. So I have quite a few looks. I could, if I wanted to, have a look at this guy. Yeah, so I will. And then I might just draw a hard line here and say, give me the highest points overall that I can lock in. So this linebacker, see what he's all about, and this other linebacker. Oh, and so you can see here that I get a bonus, plus 100 bonus because of my head coach. I also get the same bonus here. So let's do that. I like kind of exploiting these bonuses early because it will just give me such a large lead that later it'll be harder for other teams to catch up. So look, we can even like switch this and it's a 505 bonus. One filter I do want to set, so we can clear all these and then do big hitter and pass cover. What this is gonna do is allow me to appropriately be targeting these players that I get bonuses with. We'll move on. Oh, I have one more defensive training. So I think we buff the secondary. Tackling is almost always a good thing to increase, but I think the defensive IQ is also nice to have. And the bonuses there were just going to be larger. The range, actually, is what I should say. All right, so this last training camp, what I'm looking to do is to work on my secondary. So this guy, let's see. I might want to buff both of these players' man coverage just so I feel confident that I can play man all the time. There's not really a whole lot more that needs to be increased. They both have pretty high defensive IQ and reasonable pursuit. So I think that is what I'm going to do. This just means every time our defense steps on the field, we're asking the other team, are you better? For my strength training, I would like to buff this guy's strength. I'll probably just do the same for this other guy so he's a little more well-rounded. That's probably that is the end of training camp. This is summer 2. And then on the offensive side, so we already took care of our backup quarterback. We have our 2 running backs. We haven't done anything with our wide receivers, but I think I'm fine with that. I think we'll take a look at our tight end. Our tight end will probably get like 40% of the snaps, which is fine if it's not that much. But it's nice knowing that we have an 89 overall on the field. This guy, I might just buff his pass block and call it a day, and I will. One thing I want to note too, kind of why I was avoiding choosing the same players, because the bonuses become less, like the range becomes less, and also the chance that they actually hit becomes less too. So it's a pretty big risk. Okay, so we can remove this player because he's just low. Keep what we got here. Remove the C+. Cool. And then let's scout. Don't need to be. At this point, I'll probably just keep the 74. I lied. We'll make that decision later. We'll invite this guy to camp. So one thing you can do is preserve actions in between weeks. I recommend this button. Makes life so much easier. We can add 5 more recruits. So let's first look at our filter and points ahead. I wish that this filter would also stay. I don't really see anyone that looks that attracted to us. So we'll move on from there. And our points ahead. Well, let's see what our needs are still. So we got, I think basically everything covered. We could target a tight end so that we have something and a cornerback. I think that's what I'll do. Just so we have something. That's not great. So we'll target this guy because he has a much higher interest than the next guy. And then it's nice that we have this cornerback who's more interested than Michigan for us. I'm actually going to kind of like the story here. Well, we'll see. We'll see. If Christopher Raymond is still around next week, then we might tag him. Just so that we have a storyline. All right, let's go back to all. This running back that really likes us is kind of nice. And I also don't mind stealing from Michigan. I might just, for the last player, sort on overall and see what comes up. Not a whole lot. About 75 range. We'll take a look at the running back. If I do 3-star. Yeah. Okay. So this will probably be the class that we look at. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on the scouting process. I feel like it's pretty not non-interesting, but non-entertaining, since a lot of it is just clicking around. I think the play calling in this game is a lot more exciting to me. One thing I want to do is sort on these big hitters. So we unfortunately don't really have a whole lot of big hitter talent. What we can do is invite a few of these guys, see what they are made of. Hopefully one of these pans out to be higher. Really shouldn't be targeting. Oh, actually we should be. So we'll give 2 of these. Okay. And then the rest. We're just gonna sort out. Obviously, I'm targeting Michigan because I'm expecting them to be good. All right, that's just the preseason. That took like probably an hour. In the video here.